the Tavern. We're in the House chamber at the Legislative Hall on the Patriot Academy campus. We got the Tavern logo, though, so it kind of looks like the Tavern, but this would be a big tavern. I actually want to build a tavern on the Patriot Academy campus, a real tavern, like a restaurant I'm talking about, where you can have shepherd's pie and feel like you've stepped back in time to 1776. So if you happen to be a billionaire out there watching this and you want to pay for us to have a tavern, give me a call. Anyway, we are at the Legislative Hall because we have military veterans and Constitution coaches from all over the country who have come in for our Leadership Congress this week. Thank you guys for coming in from all over the country and being a part of this. And they're actually, we call them delegates because we used to do all of this at once with the students. So we had representatives and senators. We said, what are we going to call our military veterans? And we said, delegates. We actually have a Patriot Academy grad. He got elected to the West Virginia House, and they call them delegates there. He's going to be here tomorrow to help out anyway, or day after tomorrow. Anyway, all of that to say, they're doing their own legislative session right here. And so they'll be debating bills in committee tomorrow and then here on the floor tomorrow night. And I may even once in a while jump up here and say, the House will come to order. The clerk will call the roll. Actually, where's our Speaker of the House? Hey, our Speaker of the House doing a phenomenal job. Thank you very much for stepping in and taking on that role once again. And he's got like massive muscles, does private security, so when he hits the gavel, everybody pays attention. He doesn't even need a gavel. He just has to look at you with that. Anyway, so we're going to have fun for a few minutes here in the Tavern, taking questions from the folks that are here. I do want to just point out one thing. If you watched the Tavern last week, then you know that I am so excited about President Trump actually doing what I've been asking for 15 years and really asking for the last 6 months, which is ordering the enumeration, not the census, but the enumeration to be redone correctly, to get rid of illegal aliens from the count, to no longer monkey with the formula, but actually do an actual count of citizens in America and divide up the Congress appropriately so that we have real representation in Washington, D.C. that reflects the country. And that would mean about a 20, maybe 15 to 25, somewhere in there, but let's say 20 vote swing, which means 20 Democrat seats gone, 20 Republican seats gained, a 43 vote majority in Washington, D.C. instead of what you got right now. But more importantly, an accurate representation for the American people. That's what really should matter. So we spent all of last week's Tavern program talking about the enumeration. Big, big, big deal. Huge. And then Donald Trump decides to do a second thing that we've been asking for 15 years. By the way, the enumeration thing being redone is step 10. I don't have a copy of my book up here, but our new Rebuilding Liberty course and my book called A Blueprint for Rebuilding Liberty Just in Time for America's 250th. Step number 10 is exactly that, to correct the enumeration and not count illegal aliens. So praise God that he's going to do that. Well, today he has done something else that we've been asking for a long time. The Constitution gives Congress authority over Washington, D.C. So the federal government is supposed to govern Washington, D.C. for good reason. I mean, D.C. is not a state. It was never intended to be a state. It should not be a state. Otherwise, you end up with, special favors for that state over other states. Not a good deal. And the founders knew that, and that's why they set it up as a very unique place to be governed by Congress. Now, if Congress wants to create a city council like they did, by the way, all you folks out there that think America became a corporation in 1871, we did not. That's the 1871 Incorporation Act of D.C. It's just setting up that D.C. government, and then that all was even more, changed even more in the 1970s. They've actually changed it multiple times. What should happen right now is and this has happened in the past, the president should get Congress to pass a bill that he would sign that wipes out that 1970, I think it's 1973, governing act for D.C. and gives it back to a committee in Congress. Let the federal government take over D.C. It's a cesspool right now. It's being run by guns and gangs it's awful. And President Trump's had enough. So what he did today is that he actually has federalized the D.C. police, and so he's at least going in and trying to enforce the law. But I want him to go further and actually get Congress to take D.C. over and govern D.C. with a committee. They gave it to a city council because they didn't want to be having to deal with all the minutia of the daily operations of a city, but they need to go back to doing that. It's just out of control. Anybody here that's traveled to D.C., if you get in the wrong part of town, you're in trouble. And even now, I forget the kid's name that got beat up last week, but he was one of the Doge guys, just a 22, 24-year-old kid. Actually, brave situation. He shoved his girlfriend into a car, closed the door and protected her, and turned around and fought basically a gang. And anyway, so that was the final straw for President Trump, and that's why he took this step. But I think they'd already hinted that they were going to take over D.C. and clean it up. So those types of things, man, that is the whole reason we call this thing the Tavern, is because We want to sit in here and talk about revolutionary strategies and tactics that will restore liberty in this country. That's a revolutionary strategy and tactic right there. That is actually going in and doing the big things that need to take place to restore the country. So we could talk about a lot of good stuff that's happening. I am thrilled to see the 250th celebration. We had a great meeting this morning with a lot of organizations from across the country, and the White House laid out a lot of their plans that they're going to be doing in addition to working with a lot of organizations like ours. There's just a lot of great things happening. So be encouraged wherever you're watching this from around the country. A lot of great things are happening. Nothing better than what's happening right here at the Patriot Academy campus, because all these people that are getting this training, they're going to go back home to communities all over the nation. I mean, we got Hawaii, Nebraska, Virginia, people from all over the country, and they're going to take what they're learning this week and go back and start a brush fire of liberty in their community. Not a brush fire. You guys are going to start bonfires of liberty, right? I mean, we're going to get really serious about this. And we've got several legislators in the room as well. This is just a cool gathering of people. So we've been talking constitutional questions. They've been tossing out all kinds of ideas. We've been iron sharpening a little bit. So let's open it up to the floor. Any questions you guys have? And then Elisha, I think you're watching online. Anybody that has a question that's watching at home, whether you're watching on YouTube or X or Facebook right now, type that into the chat, and Elisha will snag those questions. Who out here has got a question? And Alicia's going to run the microphone to you. Yes, ma'am. Go for it.
Where do you think this whole fiasco with the Democrats in Texas is going to go?
Yes, great question. And I had promised y'all earlier I was going to give you a little background on this. I cannot remember if I did this on the Tavern last week, so if you're a Tavern watcher and I did this last week, I apologize. I don't think I did, though. But this is par for the course for Democrats in Texas. They have done this so many times. And here's the thing. You have to have a quorum to do business in the legislature, and that's 2/3. So you got to have 100 of your 150 House members have to be present. And it's kind of interesting what y'all heard this afternoon right here. What was the first thing the Speaker Johnson did? He said, House will come to order, the clerk will call the roll. And then after the clerk called the roll, what did he say? Members, a quorum is present. Unfortunately, we've heard for the last week, members, a quorum is not present. That is so weird to even hear that. It's like my ear has I'm so trained to every day of the legislative session hearing members, a quorum is present. You know, the chair recognizes whoever to do the pledge or whatever. So it's weird hearing them say a quorum is not present. What they've done is a bunch of the Democrats have literally left the state. They've run off to hide so that they could keep us from getting to 100 in the House chamber at the real Texas House. By the way, this is a replica. For those of you watching at home, watching the Tavern, this dais is an exact replica of the Texas House dais. Anyway, they're trying to prevent them from doing business because Texas is doing redistricting, and as a result of that redistricting map, you're going to end up with 5 more Republican congressmen, possibly, from Texas than what you have right now. And so the Democrats are trying to prevent that from happening. The Republicans have the majority. They have absolutely the constitutional right, the Texas constitutional right, to do this, and the Democrats are trying to stop it from happening. So that's why you see all these press conferences with Pritzker and Newsom and Hochul and these other governors saying, this is so wrong what they're doing, so now we're going to do it, which in and of itself is weird, right? But they can't do it because they've already done it. In other words, they've been redistricting and gerrymandering for decades in those states. They cannot squeeze out another Democrat seat from those states. I don't think. Maybe they'll get one out of all of those states trying. Whereas Texas has been much more fair and much more neutral, and I think not even gone far enough in doing what every state does, which is if the Republicans have control, they pack Democrats into their districts and they spread out the Republicans so they get more members of Congress that are Republicans. If the Democrats are in control, they pack the Republicans into districts, meaning they're gonna draw lines that have a lot of Democrats, an 80% or 90% Democrat district, and then make their an 80 or 90% Republican district, and then they make their Democrat districts 55 or 60 or 65, and that gives you the ability to have more Democrat seats and fewer Republican seats and more Democrat seats, unless it's the other way around. Whoever's in control does it. This has been the way of the world since the founding era, and gerrymandering, which was Elbridge Gerry, a signer of the Declaration, that actually is the first one that this was named after. So 100% par for the course. So why are they trying to stop it, and how are they trying to stop it? By running off and hiding in another state, the Texas House can't do business. By law, they're not supposed to do that. So they're literally breaking the law in doing this. And they can be arrested, and they've been ordered to be arrested, not by the governor, but by the Speaker of the House. It's a rule under the Texas statutes. If they step foot back in Texas, and the Texas Department of Public Safety finds them, they can arrest them, literally cuff and stuff them, drag them to the Texas House, put them back on the Texas House floor, and lock the door. That's how this is supposed to be dealt with. Now, rumor has it they found a couple of them, and we're at about 96 right now, so they got to find 4 more and arrest them and take them back. Now, the reason I say this is par for the course, the Democrats not only did that this year, they did it in 2021, they did it in 2003, they did it in 1991. They did it in 1981. They did it in 1979. They did it all the way back to 1870. The first time they did it was very similar to why they're doing it this time. And I'm going to be really blunt right now. This is not a partisan statement. This is a historical statement. The Democrat Party has always been the racist party. They've always used color of skin to divide people. And they were the racist party that protected slavery, that wanted slavery to continue, that fought a war to try to keep slavery. And when they lost that war and we were able to get rid of slavery, they tried to prevent blacks from being able to vote, being able to participate in society, being able to even live. And so that's why they were lynching not just blacks, but Republicans all over the South. 4,900 and something lynchings across the South during that period. 25% of those lynchings were whites. Let that sink in for a minute, because you probably never heard that unless you've been watching Wall Builders or The Tavern. 25% were whites because they were just killing every Republican they could find. They were lynching Republicans. That's what they were after. And all the blacks were Republicans, and roughly 25% of the whites were Republican at the time. So that was happening in 1870. So the state legislature comes together and says, we need a police force, a state police force, to stop the KKK from lynching people. Now, if you had a gun, you could prevent yourself from being lynched. This is another reason that for Republicans, the Second Amendment is part of our DNA. Because all the way back to the beginning of our party in 1856, we have believed that the Second Amendment was important because we lived it as human beings. Black and white Republicans had to have a firearm to keep themselves from being killed. It's literally that serious. And so most Republicans don't know that that's the reason that's in their history, but that's the reason. So in 1870, the state comes together and says, we're going to create a police force to stop the KKK from lynching people. So the bill's about to get passed in the Senate. So 12 Democrat senators run off and hide, just like they're doing right now. Now, back in 2021, when they ran off and hid, it was in private jets flying off to D.C. You might remember this if you're Texans, and there were pictures of them on the plane without their masks. The same people that had mandated that all of us wear masks were on their little private jets not wearing masks, and there were pictures of Miller Lite. So we knew they were having a good party, not wearing masks, and I had a great time enjoying the report that they all got COVID. Hilarious. Anyway, they didn't have private jets in 1870, so they couldn't fly off to other states. So what'd they do? They went and hid in one of the senator's offices. And the sergeant at arms was ordered by the Senate president, go find them, arrest them, and bring them back so we have a quorum. Sergeant at arms finds them, starts banging on the door, couldn't get in, so this is all in the Texas Journal, by the way, in the Texas House Journal, or Senate Journal. He goes and he dives through the window, and according to his testimony, he said, I dove through the window, rolled up on the floor, and said, let's go, boys. And he arrested all 12 of them. He took, I think, 2 of them to the Senate floor. That created a quorum, so he didn't need the other 10 to be there. He literally put them in jail, and they had to sit in jail for the next 2 weeks while they finished business in the Senate. That's what should happen this time. Arrest 50 of them and put them in jail, get just enough of them to get a quorum at 100, get the business done, and then finish this thing out. So this is the playbook for Democrats. They're wusses, they're wimps, they're whiny, sniveling little brats that are taking their basketball and going home and saying, because we can't win, we're not going to play ball. And if Republicans do it, I'll call them the same thing. Anybody that's unwilling to let the business of their state be done over their political lines and their political careers. If you're saving lives, if you're saving babies, if you're doing something like that, I could applaud you maybe using every tactic possible. These people are shutting down the business of Texas to protect their own political careers. It's selfish, it's wrong, and it needs to stop. So we'll see what happens. I think they'll end up getting 3 or 4 more. They'll make the 3 or 4 more of them will be sane enough to come back and finally, create the quorum, and then the dominoes will start falling eventually. But Governor Abbott and General Paxton are saying that they can actually replace them in the legislature. Now, that's the first time I've heard that argument. They're claiming that they've abdicated their position and they've given up their slot, and that Governor Abbott has the authority to appoint a replacement. And so if he does that, I will forgive him for his COVID tyranny. At that point, I will have to say, good governor, because with Abbott, I'm like this. There's some great stuff like school choice that he's gotten done, and then he was terrible in COVID, and he's been great on some things, and so if he pulls that off, and honestly, the way he's handling this right now, I'm behind him all the way. So I think he's doing a great job. But if he actually goes that bold, that's a Donald Trump type move right there, right? That would be huge. All right, who else? Oh, it's dinner time. Let's go one more real quick. I can't believe I spent all of our time on one question. Yes, sir. Your food's getting cold in the tavern. It's not shepherd's pie either. Or is it? Is it shepherd's pie? Could we pretend it's shepherd's pie? We could call it, yeah.
You sort of already answered this for the Texas level, but do you see incarcerations from the top down on all the stuff that's going on at the federal level too, that's in the news?
Yes, I do. And I think the reason is because if there's not actual prosecutions of the people that did the Russia hoax, of the people that did the COVID lies, if there are not actual prosecutions, it's going to happen again. And the trust in the institutions will not be restored. We don't trust our institutions now, do we? I mean, even with Kash Patel at FBI, even with President Trump in office, I still don't trust the DOJ. I still don't trust the FBI. I'm wanting to. I want to get back. When I say trust, always Ronald Reagan, trust but verify, right? When I say trust, I mean, having some faith that there's justice that can happen in our country. Not that there won't be injustice, but that our system will get back to a place where it's blind equal justice for all. And if you don't have prosecutions for the people that tried to destroy our justice system, that weaponized our agencies, that did all the things that they did, how many women are now infertile? How many babies died as a result of the COVID vaccine because Rachel Walensky got on television and lied to the American people and said it was safe? Anthony Fauci lied to the American people. Pfizer and Moderna and the lies and the cover-up of the tests that they took, all of that was perpetrated by our government, not just these private pharmaceutical companies. Our government was the shill for all of that. Somebody has to pay. And the reason I throw Fauci's name out so much is because he was the epicenter of all of that. He was the arrogant, bureaucrat that thought he couldn't be touched. And he needs to be touched, and he needs to be put in prison. I think he did more damage to the country than anyone in our history. More people died, more businesses lost, more damage to our reputation, to all of those things. And so anyway, that's the reason I think it has to happen. Now, will it happen? I really do think it will. I think President Trump is radicalized to restore justice because they were so unjust to him. He has a thirst. Not for revenge. I really believe this. He has a thirst for justice. He has a thirst for restoring the balance of justice in our country. So he will be pushing. The question is, can you get down the depth of that deep state far enough to actually make it happen? The judges are corrupt in D.C. The system is very broken. And so it's not going to happen overnight. And that's why I'm not one of these people that's saying, where are the Epstein Files? I mean, I want that to be, as transparent as possible. But I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater and say I'm no longer supporting President Trump because he no longer wants to. I think the Epstein Files are a small issue compared to Anthony Fauci's crimes and a lot of these other things that have happened. Needs to happen. I get it. I'm all for it. But I'm not. I just don't think you can expect an agency like the FBI that was so corrupted by partisans to be changed overnight from the top down. And now you notice they fired 3 top-level FBI agents in the last week because they had been so partisan, because they had persecuted the political opponents. So I think it's going to take time. You're not going to hear me say, well, it's just not going to happen. The swamp wins until at least a year from now. Like I'm literally giving them that much leash. I think it's going to take that long, a year and a half, of them being able to get inside the machine, and it's going to take time to build cases. So you notice they're already building a pretty strong case against Letitia James, and so those types of prosecutions, Republicans would have never done that 10 years ago. Republicans have always wimped out when they got the power. Democrats, they use the power when they get it. Republicans just tend to be, let's play nice so we can get elected again. That's the old Republican Party. That is not these people now. That this team is totally different, man. Hegseth, Patel, Bongino, you just go down the list. I don't know Bondi, so I can't say whether or not, I don't know what's going to happen, we'll see. But I'm just thrilled. And I'm telling you, we got Patriot Academy grads that are working at the highest levels in the administration and in these agencies, and we're hearing really good things. There's good stuff happening. Not going to be perfect. There's going to be things they don't do that we want, but man, I'm telling you, we've never had a batting average this good. It is absolutely phenomenal how good it is. Joseph's here. Y'all be hearing from Joseph back home twice tomorrow. Welcome to the Tavern, man. Hey, we're about to shut down, but anyway, glad to have you, bro. I know also delayed by flights, as Tony was when she came in. Anyway, I know your food's getting cold, so we're gonna sign off from the Tavern. We'll do more Q&A with you guys tomorrow. All of you watching at home, thank you for joining me here in the Tavern. We'll be back on the Tavern set next week. Have a great night. We'll see you next week right here in the Tavern. Thank you, Patriot Academy students, for coming, our military veterans, and our coaches. We appreciate you. That's it. Okay, I was only 5 minutes over, Kay.